What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs. Kong news retrospective. Yeah, this one's not really a news roundup. This is definitely jumping way further into the past. Welcome to the new set, my friends. This is a prototype, okay? This is far from the final design. It will go under many changes. The setting will be different, and we'll fix it, okay? This is still early days, The other set was destroyed very swiftly and mercilessly in a move that was not ideal, but it happens. So in this video, we're gonna be jumping all the way back to August 2017. Now, if you're wondering why we're jumping so far back into the past, well, I'm caught up to the point where I was. I have officially caught up to the point where I was when I stopped doing Godzilla vs. Kong news and updates, all the way back in 2021. This is the last one left. This one was lost to time for many years. I was originally going to make it when this was all relevant back in 2017, but all of these links got thrown somewhere else and I lost them, and I only found them because I was going, did I actually cover everything that I lost? And this was the last thing left, so this is it. Which means moving forward, we will be covering stuff that is out of my realm. This is all after the time I stopped looking into Godzilla vs. Kong news. Also, we're going to be going back to the old room for the next future videos. That's why I've been doing the audio only. I just wanted to make sure you guys weren't like distracted by the set and how we were going to be going back to the old room, and I didn't want that distraction to happen. So it was audio only for a while. But yeah, we're going to be jumping back there, and each video is going to start covering more and more time so that we can catch up much quicker. I know a lot of people weren't really sold on this whole idea I knew it was going to be a very controversial decision when I decided to do it, which is why I made that original video making fun of the idea. And I mean, like, yeah, like 100 of you guys at least have jumped ship, which is fine. I encourage more people who don't like this idea to leave, because then I don't have to read comments about people upset about it. But in this one, we're going to be taking a look at Adam Wingard's original set of interviews talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. His original set way back in the day. He was just freshly announced for the movie. This is what he had to say about it, and it's not quite what we got, but I do like it. Starting out, I want to give a huge shout out to Jonathan Ware. Jonathan Ware made a Kaiju verse intro for me that I used on tons of videos back in the day. Now I can't use it anymore because the song used in it, it's now a much harder song to use. It gets claimed way more easily, so I don't use that song anymore, but I love the intro. It's one of my favorite intros. I really appreciated him making it, and it meant a lot to me. Beyond the Trailers did an interview with Adam Wingard in which she asks him a number of questions related to Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, this interview was originally done for 2017's Death Note, as all of these interviews, that's why all of these interviews were done, but everybody's asking him about Godzilla vs. Kong. So let's find out what Godzilla vs. Kong was gonna look like back in August 2017. Adam Wingard says his low budget background informed his use of VFX and making sure that things weren't just thrown on screen just because he could, but instead every visual effects component was used because it complements the story. He also says that much like in Death Note, the camera wouldn't stop moving and neither would the monsters. It would be a very dynamic movie, and it sure was. Now, he actually doesn't say this in the interview, so I don't know if I was just reading between the lines. This is my note from 2017. It just says, the camera will move behind objects and whatnot to create a scary vibe. I don't know what that means. What does it mean in relation to Godzilla vs. Kong? I don't know, but that's the note I took back in the day based on this interview. Next up, I've linked Godzilla vs. Kong's IMDB down below. Back in the day, it was just posted, so it was a blank page, but now it's obviously filled out with the entire movie. Adam Wingard posted a picture of Kong in America, I'm assuming, on Twitter, but because his Twitter's gone, we lost it. Same with him in Japan. It must have been a picture of him in Japan. I don't know. He deleted his Twitter, so both of these are gone. Then Adam Wingard went on the Death Note press tour, and like I said, a lot of questions were thrown his way, so let's jump into all of them one by one. In an interview with Comic Book Movie, Godzilla vs. Kong's setting was addressed. Wingard says that Godzilla vs. Kong is more of a Godzilla movie than a Kong movie, and it's more of a sequel to Godzilla and Godzilla 2 than it is to Kong Skull Island. But the movie would feature and focus on a much older and more grizzled Kong who is now more experienced with people. Yeah, that is exactly what we got in Godzilla vs. Kong. We definitely got an older grizzled Kong, a guy who's a bit more at the end of his rope, as Wingard likes to say. And I would still agree that the movie is a sequel to Godzilla and Godzilla 2 more so than Kong Skull Island, because it doesn't really do a good job filling in the gap between what happens. We just cut back and they're like, well, Skull Island's destroyed anyways, so you know things have happened, but we don't really know what. Even though the movie does focus on Kong as its primary protagonist, I think a lot of people would go, oh no, it's a Kong movie, not a Godzilla movie. No, it isn't. I mean, it is a Kong movie. It's a Godzilla movie where Kong's the main character. Here's his direct quote: "No, ours is more in continuity with the sequel to Godzilla right now. They're doing Godzilla 2 with Michael Dougherty directing, so our film is in the present day. We have a couple of characters from Godzilla 2 in ours, but it's interesting to see how Kong has fared over the years. You see him in that film and he's just constantly under attack. Things are going wrong and he's probably had lots of human intervention since then. It'll be interesting to see a more rugged and a bit more aged Kong." And it sure was. I loved it. I don't quite know what he means about Kong being constantly under attack and things going wrong. Now, I've seen some people interpret that in that quote he's referring to in Kong Skull Island, things are constantly going wrong for him, and that's certainly true. But I'm kind of under the impression that he's saying in between the two movies, Kong has been constantly under attack, which has led to him being more rugged and a bit more wise and a bit more of a fighter. I don't really get that impression in Godzilla vs. Kong the movie, so I don't quite know. Maybe there was originally ideas to have Kong have to do a lot more fighting, but that might have been changed, I'm not sure. In a Screen Rant interview, Wingard talks about paying respects to the original Godzilla. He says that Godzilla vs. Kong will focus on the dark origins and realities of the destruction Godzilla and Kong cause. One of his direct quotes is, "If you watch that film," him referring to the original movie, "it's a really sad movie. It's a really depressing exploration of that. So you always have to remember, at the end of the day, that the reason you're here is because a major catastrophe took place. There's this underlying darkness under it all. But at the end of the day, it is for kids as well." Godzilla vs. Kong is anything but dark. However, we do know that a lot of Wingard's original ideas were a bit darker for Godzilla vs. Kong and that he changed these as he progressed the film. I personally believe he made the right decision, as Godzilla vs. Kong was exactly the movie the world needed when it came out. But it is something to be said that Godzilla is a character that has wide appeal, and the version of the character that appeals to some doesn't always appeal to others. So a lot of people did want this darker movie. If I had made the movie, I would have made it much darker, and I don't think it would have been as successful as a result of it. Comic Book Movies also interviews Wingard, where he talks about the darker tone. In this, we learned that Wingard visited the set for Godzilla King of the Monsters and said that the cinematography and acting was amazing. He also says that the tone and direction they were taking Godzilla in was awesome. He then mentions how Godzilla fans are just excited to be taken seriously, but that because of this, they are also very on guard, so they can smell a fake fan from a mile away. In another interview now lost to time, that's a good thing I took these notes back in 2017, Wingard mentions the script for Godzilla vs. Kong. He says that he will not push back, but instead get on the same page with his writers so everybody working on the project is happy. He also makes it clear that they are going back to make this movie deep and complex to make it as strong of a film as they can. I don't think the film is that deep or complex. I think it's actually very simple, and I think that's why it works so well. But again, it's just interesting to hear what his original thought process was. I would love to read an original script for Godzilla vs. Kong and see how much the movie has progressed over time. I'm happy with the version we got, but I would love to read an original script. In another interview, Wingard talks about paying respects to the fans. He says he plans to take the kaiju as seriously as if they were people, and that he hopes the Godzilla fans would appreciate and accept him for that. Godzilla vs. Kong will not just be a blockbuster, it will pay respects to the past and have undertones from the original 1954 classic. Now that didn't really happen. I mean, definitely pays respects to the past, but it's not deep or dark like the 54 movie. Wingard mentions how Godzilla can be a good guy, bad guy, or both at the same time, and that's what makes him interesting. Very fun reading that now with the context that Godzilla straight up is the bad guy for 90% of Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, he's both at the same time, but he's doing bad things. Wingard's direct quote was, "They can smell fake a mile away, so if your enthusiasm isn't real, then they'll eat you alive." About the Godzilla vs. Kong fanbase, he says, "As soon as you can prove that your intentions are true to the source material, that's all that matters, specifically when you're dealing with big monsters. You really have to take them seriously, almost as people." So it sounded like he wanted to pay respects to Godzilla for sure, which is great, but he doesn't really talk a ton about Kong, ever, in any of these interviews, which you kind of get that in the movie too. Yeah, Wingard seems to be a mega Godzilla fan, which I think a lot of Kong fans will have a problem with. I think Wingard truthfully does care about Kong just as much and really puts a lot of thought into that character, but I don't think he cares as much about the franchise itself, which is fair, you know, it's personal preference. In another interview that's lost to time, Adam Wingard says that he will have a definitive winner in Godzilla vs. Kong. I really don't know who it could be. I personally think Godzilla's gonna win, but if I had it my way, my money would be on Kong. His direct quote was, "I want to decide the winner. The original was very funny, but it's a bit disappointing that I was not able to settle. The fans are still arguing which is winning. So I am away from the original." Well, okay. I will decide the winner. That's a very wordy quote. I'm sure in context of him saying it, it sounds better than it reads. Basically, he's just saying the original King Kong vs. Godzilla ends mostly ambiguous, so it's still being debated to this day, which is why in his movie he wanted a definitive, clear, and decisive winner. Finally, there was an interview done with Screen Crush where Adam Wingard talks about how Godzilla vs. Kong is going to be one big monster brawl. In this interview, he says, "It's a massive monster brawl movie. There's a lot of monsters going crazy on each other, but at the end of the day, I want there to be an emotional drive to it. I want you to be emotionally invested in them. I think that's what's going to make it really cool." Wingard wants to tap into the feelings that your favorite monster really could lose and play upon that. He hoped that audiences would be so invested in the monsters that they would be teary-eyed by the end of the movie. I know a lot of Kong fans sure were, and I gotta tell you, when that trailer came out and Kong was kicking Godzilla's ass, every Godzilla fan was crying as well, because they all thought for one moment, oh, this guy ruined the franchise. He had Kong defeat Godzilla. Get over yourselves. It's a fictional monster. If he loses, he loses. Oh, but D-Man, aren't you Team Kong? Isn't that your thing, complaining about Team Kong? Yeah, I'm just having fun. It's just fun. I'm just having fun, guys. Wingard then promises that other monsters will show up in Godzilla vs. Kong, but doesn't name who they are, probably because he didn't know back then. That'd be my guess. I'd guess that he probably knew they wanted to do Mechagodzilla, but didn't really know much more. I don't know, guys. I had a lot of fun reading these old interviews. They're very interesting to look back at with a modern lens and go, well, the movie isn't that deep. It's not dark at all. It's the exact opposite, but in a lot of ways, he does exactly what he wanted to do, which is really exciting. As a filmmaker or as somebody who appreciates filmmaking, it's exciting to go, good for that guy that he got to do what he wanted to do. What are your guys' thoughts on all this? Would you have preferred a darker Godzilla vs. Kong, something more in line with the 1954 original, or are you happy with what we got? Do you like what we have? I personally like what we have. Well, that'll do it for this one, guys. So I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. You guys are the best, keeping the channel running, and it really does mean a lot to me. If you want to support the Patreon, please consider doing so using the link in the description below. For the rest of you, I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.